Hi folks, and welcome to part 5 of our video tutorial series on an introduction to core data. Whoops, why am I showing that? Okay, so in the last video we looked at how to save into core data. So we made a managed object, we filled it with data, and then we saved it. Our job now is to sort of do the opposite. We want to retrieve the data when the app starts up. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to go in right under view did load. I'm going to make a new function. So I'm going to say func load data from core data. Actually, let's say I'll do it like this. Load people from core data. Okay. And before I forget, I should call this method. So a good place to call it is right in viewDidLoad. So when the app starts up, viewDidLoad gets called, and then load people from core index from core data gets called. The first thing I have to make is something called the fetch request. Okay, the fetch request. Let's take a look at what the fetch request looks like. So I'm going to say let the fetch request equal, it's going to equal what? Well, this is a little bit interesting. It's going to actually, I'm going to specify the type right away. And I'll talk about why a little bit later on. We're going to make an NS fetch request. But what type of data are we requesting? We're requesting what? Person entities. So this is called generics because a fetch request can fetch any kind of data. So we have to say what kind of data we're going to do. We now have a variable, which is a fetch request that can fetch person entities. So we need to put an instance of a fetch request in there. So I'm going to do person entity dot fetch request. Oh boy, what does this mean? So this is pretty straightforward. This says fetch all of the data that's in the database, which is of type person entity. Notice I didn't put any parameters. If I wanted to get a subset of the data, I would have to make something like a where clause from SQL. It's not called a where clause, it's called a predicate, and we're going to be doing that later on. But right now, I have the fetch request, which will fetch person entities. So the next step is we have to do a little bit of error handling. So let's set that up right away. So we have our do catch. And we're going to do this. And just to make our life easy, I'll copy this error. And I'll drop the error in here, and I'll say error loading person entities from core data. Okay, so there we go. Now, let's take a look at this. This is pretty interesting. So, what are we going to do here? We're actually going to make a loop because this fetch request is going to give us back an array of person entity objects. So I'm going to say a person entity is for that in what? Well, I'm going to have to run the fetch request. So how do I run the fetch request? Well, I'm going to try what? Self dot managed object context dot can you guess? Dot fetch. And I'm gonna fetch a what? I'm gonna fetch the fetch request. So this says take the fetch request that we created and executed. The answer will be an array. So I want to iterate through that array. So in here, if I make it into this loop, it means I have a valid person entity object. So what am I going to do with that object? I'm going to use it to make a new what? I'm going to say self. Whoops. I'll do it easily. I'll do it this way. I'll say let a person equal person, not person entity, just a regular person. Now, the first name is going to come out of the person entity, so I'll say a person entity dot what? Dot first name. And I'm going to put in the exclamation because I have to unwrap it. And I'm going to do what? A person entity dot last name, and we're going to unwrap it. And we then need to do what? We're going to say self dot the person list dot append. We're going to append what? We're going to append a person, not a person entity. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to compile it. And believe it or not, that's all there is to it. The way this works is we have an array. The array is going to loop around. Every time I loop around, I'm going to build a new person based on the person entity. Then I'm going to add that person to the list, and I'm going to keep going around and around and around. So that's really straightforward. And in the next video, the last video, we're going to test the app to make sure it works properly. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.